Hello and welcome. My name is JC, and today I'm going to do a quick tutorial based on Gustav Holst's orchestral suite, The Planets, in particular the Mars movement. If you have a score to follow along, this excerpt is taken from bars 27 through 34. And if you do a search on YouTube for Holst The Planets, one of the top results will be a performance from the Frankfurt Radio Symphony, which is conducted by Hugh Wolf. The excerpt can be heard from 1 minute to 1 minute 11 seconds. This excerpt is mostly recognized as the influence for the Imperial March in Star Wars, but you'll hear that the harmonic movement is used everywhere, whether it's sci-fi movies, TV shows, horror. This is used all over the place. And let's listen to it. Here it is. I'm sure you recognize it. Let's start out by breaking it down to its most common denominator. Here's a simple breakdown of the harmony with just the piano. You'll see the left hand will be playing a G in octaves. The right hand is playing a C sharp major chord in root position that then goes to a B major chord in root position. The time signature is 5/4. And the left hand will be playing quarter notes with accents on beat 1, so you know when the downbeats are. Let's mute the entire orchestra and go over to the piano. And let's listen. Okay, let's move on to the orchestration. We'll start out with the Flutes and Violins I. They play the same exact note, so I decided to show them at the same time. The score, it's written for 2 flutes, but I only used 1. Let's get it closer here by about 2 quarter notes. There we go. Let's see. There's Violins 1 and the flute. Let's check it out. All right, up next is 2 oboes. There is 1 English horn. Next is 3 clarinets, but I'm also going to include the bass clarinet and the double bassoon since they only appear on the B major chord. Here, check it out. Now let's take a quick listen to just the woodwind section by itself. Let's move on to the brass. We'll start out with 6 French horns, and there's 2 horns per note. Now the trumpets, I'm using 1 trumpet per note for a total of 3 trumpets, but the score is written for 4 trumpets, 1 on the bottom root note, 1 on the 5th, and then 2 on the octave. The trombones are next. The score calls for 2 tenor trombones and 1 bass trombone, but I used 3 tenor trombones. Since my library only has muted solo trombones, that's what I used. I turned them up in the mix to make them blend better. And finally in the brass, there's a tenor tuba. I didn't have a tenor tuba in my library, but the regular tuba had the range to perform the notes, so that's what I used. Now let's take a quick listen to the brass section only. Now we'll look at the strings and timpani. I'm including the timpani because it plays the same note value and rhythm as the cellos. Violins I won't be included since they were already covered playing unison with the flutes. Basses have the bottom note, cellos 1 octave above, and the violas and violins II in unison are 1 octave above the cellos. The time signature is 5/4. Therefore, the rhythm you're going to hear is 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me get that set up for you. Oh, we don't want violins 1. Let's take that out. Let's rewind to the top. Start about half note before. That looks good. Okay, like I said, 1 and 2, 3 and wait. 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 5. And let's have one more quick listen to the entire orchestration. Excellent. So what if you've got a gig, the director of the film tells you he needs music yesterday, and you don't have the time to do a full orchestration? It's going to require mixing, EQing individual instruments, automating dynamics for individual instruments, and of course delivering stems. what would this sound like with ensemble patches? So let's start out with the ensemble woodwinds and the ensemble strings. The ensemble strings will represent the one note played by violins I. And in case I haven't mentioned it, the sample libraries I'm using are from Musio. These all come from the Cinesamples libraries included with Musio. The woodwind ensemble patch is the Holly Woodwinds 2D sustain, and the strings are ensemble sustain vibrato from the Cinestrings core library. Let me go back here and get that set up. We'll start from about here. We'll set up the Holly Woodwind sustain and the string ensemble sustain. Here we go. Now here's the brass from the ContraBassoon core library. The patch is called Brass Ensemble Sustain. And here's the strings from the Cinestrings core library. The patch is called String Ensemble Spiccato, and I also include the timpani. String ensemble, timpani, and this has to rewind to the top. We'll start a half note before. Okay, timpani and string ensemble spiccato. Here's what the ensemble patches sound like all together. So what do you think? Can you get away with ensemble patches? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day making music.